Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Preventing Runovers and Backovers course, part 1 of 2. Part 1 is today, August 4th, and part 2 will be Wednesday, August 6th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Paula Hyman, and I'm from the Ohio LTAP Center. Before we begin today, I'd like to cover just a few housekeeping items. First, if you have questions throughout this presentation, I ask that you please type them into the questions box. Our presenter will address your questions periodically throughout the presentation. So if everyone will, please locate the questions pod and type a little hello, a hi, just to make sure that you know where it's located and how it works. And I'll be able to see those. Lastly, today's presentation is available for download in the handout section with the note sections available. If for some reason you are unable to download the handouts, put your email address in the questions box and I will email it to you. I want to thank you in advance for your participation with that. And with that being said, I'll pass things off to Mr. Robinson Vasquez, Safety Business Developer and Training Manager at the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Robinson?
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Let me introduce myself a little. My name is Robinson Vasquez. I work in the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. I am originally from Peru. I am an attorney there, but I focus very much on labor law, especially the safety area there. Because a little about me is my father had an accident when I was a kid, so he almost broke his back. And I was very impressed about this situation. Not he didn't die, but he was recovering for a month in the hospital. Then he was doing rehabilitation for several months, and he was working as a welder. And as you can realize, he couldn't continue working, and we were financially almost broken in my family. I could feel all the feelings of my mother, my brother, my siblings, and everybody. When my father recovered, he could stand up and walk, but he was shaking. So as a welder cannot shake. So he discovered that drinking a little alcohol, he could control his shaking, and then he became alcoholic. We were lucky that he reinvented himself after some time, and he used all his knowledge of, being a welder to work for a welding company, selling all the equipments, all the electrodes and everything. And well, I had the opportunity. He made more money than he did before, so I could study law there in Peru. So I focused very much in labor law, and I came here some years ago to do a master in law, comparative law, and then an MBA in which I focused very much on safety and productivity. And I discovered how, at least in the US and many other developed countries, you have here a better system that we have in Peru, of course. And how important is safety, not only for the human beings, the people, their families, but also for the companies. So it's a good investment to prevent incidents, because just an incident can easily cost the company $300,000 in the long term, considering not only the medical costs, but also the legal costs, fines, insurance costs, investigation costs, repairment costs, and also the opportunities that the company could lose if we have an accident. So this is a little about me. I have been working in ARBA for almost 10 years now. And this presentation we're going to share is something that we have been working for several years, but it is very, very important, because the main cause of accidents in the roadway construction industry is traffic. Okay, our own equipment, especially our own equipment, are killing our workers or people in great numbers. So we are going to focus very much on preventing runovers and backovers, the main cause of accidents, and how can we help to solve this situation. So let's start with this. we want to say thank you especially to the Federal Highway Administration. They are providing us the resources to provide this training to you. We did it before with OSHA. OSHA helped us to create this training, and now we are under the umbrella of the Federal Highway Administration to provide this training for free for all the members of the roadway construction industry. So our objectives are going to be, especially this one, explain why traffic is the main cause of incidents in the roadway construction industry. You know, faults is the main cause of incidents and deaths in general construction, but for us in the roadway construction industry, traffic is the main cause of incidents. Second is faults. Okay. Describe how an internal traffic control plan can help to reduce incidents in the work zone. So this concept was basically created by ARTBA several years ago. As we have a temporary traffic control plan using the MUTCD and all the resources that we have to control the traffic around the work zone, we need some resources to control the traffic inside of the work zone, because our heavy equipment, or dump trucks, or excavators, all the heavy machines, equipment that we have there are killing more people, or they have been killing more people than motorist intrusion or regular traffic. So our own traffic inside the work zone are killing a lot of workers. So we need to control it. We need to create a plan to control the traffic inside of the work zone, and that's the concept, the internal traffic control plan. So we are going to identify the differences between the temporary traffic control plan and an internal traffic control plan, and identify why motorist intrusion can create incidents too, of course. So this is the first module we are going to share with you. And I want to start the discussion asking you or inviting you to think what is wrong here in this short video, and how can we prevent this accident, this incident, okay? So let's do it again. So in the video, we can realize we have a work zone, and apparently there is a big problem in the temporary traffic control plan. So this video is coming from East Europe. You can realize there are some deficiencies in the temporary traffic control plan. If you go to the MUTCD, you can get all the information about how to prevent this incident, basically. How can we use all the signs, warning signs, advanced warning area, transition area, activity area. We're here in this area. So how can we put all the signs, cones, barrels, all the temporary traffic control devices to help the motorists to navigate around the work zone, preventing this kind of intrusion? Inclusive the buffer area could be very important. You know, the buffer area is the space in which we have the cones, the transition area moving the traffic from one side to the other, and the activity area. There should be a space big enough to allow motorists to use their brakes before impacting the activity area. But apparently, as you can realize here, we have a very, very deficient temporary traffic control plan. So you can see here workers walking around. You can see a parking area. We don't have any kind of protection, lateral protection for workers. So it is important to work with the MUTCD, the temporary traffic control plan, and use additional measures to prevent a motorist intrusion. You know, maybe a truck attenuator, a dump truck, a truck attenuator here, some kind of jersey barriers, concrete barriers, positive defenses for the work zone. So it is a big area for us, but we are not going to focus very much on the temporary traffic control plan. We are going to talk a little about it, but we are going to focus more on the next kind of incidents. This one. Incidents involving our own equipment affecting our workers on foot. Let me see. Let me show you this video, and please think about what is wrong. What can we do to prevent this incident? How can we organize the work zone in a better way to prevent this incident too? So let's see.
Well, we got that much of it on the camera.
Let's do it again.
Got it. Well, we got that much of it on the camera.
So let's think about it. Okay, how can we prevent this incident? We can talk a little about the worker on foot, what is wrong with him. We can talk about the equipment. Does the equipment have a backup alarm? The lights that are turned on are working. We can talk about the operator too, and we can talk about the environment in general. So let's focus about the worker on foot. He apparently he is very distracted. You can realize it as he couldn't realize that there was the equipment backing up in this area. So maybe he was using some headphones, listening some music, but he was distracted. So being alert is something that we have to emphasize very much with our workers. So being alert all the time. Okay, don't be under the effects of alcohol, drugs, or not sleeping enough. Being alert is very important because it can save your life in 1-2 seconds. Very, very, very easy, very fast. And just to be alert is very important for us. Apparently he is using a high visibility vest, hard hat, and all these things, but he was completely distracted. Okay, we can talk about the equipment. Where the backup alarm working, where the lights working. We can we can put some cameras to allow the operator to see what's happening behind. We can use some technologies to improve safety. We have now new technologies that if the sensor detects somebody behind, the vehicle can stop automatically. So we can also improve technology and prevent accidents. What about the operator? We can discuss also about the operator. Was the operator distracted? Was he running the vehicle very fast? He was backing up and his visibility was very low. And so what else can we do or he should do to verify that everything is okay and we don't have, so we cannot have this incident? But we can talk also about all the general situation. So maybe if you are the foreman, the supervisor, you can create a rule, talk with the workers, okay? And say, you know, in this area is only for workers on foot. I don't want any equipment working in this area, okay? And to make it clear, you can use some temporary traffic control devices, some cones, some barrels, some tapes to prevent people or equipment to come inside this area. So you discussed how are you organizing the work area with your workers, and make it clear this area is only for workers on foot, no equipment here, or vice versa. You can say this area is only for heavy equipment. I don't want workers on foot on this area, and make it clear, putting some barriers around this place. But if you need to work together, put together workers on foot and equipment, maybe you also need a spotter to help you to control the traffic in this area. Okay, and create some rules. Hey, this area is only for 10 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour. Please control yourself. Be aware about your blind spots, blind area. Both workers on foot and operators should be aware about the blind spot, blind area. But it is important, how do we organize the work zone? Okay, and this is the area in which an internal traffic control plan is very important. An internal traffic control plan is going to help us to separate workers on foot from heavy equipment in a way in which we can organize all the work zone to prevent this kind of incidents. Okay, that's our goal, and that's why it's important. If traffic is our problem, if our internal traffic is killing our workers, we need a plan to control it. So in addition to talk about workers on foot, operators, equipment, we need to talk about how are we going to organize and design the workplace to prevent this kind of incidents. Okay. So here it is again. So we are going to talk more about internal traffic control plan. Okay, how are you going to, what is this? How can we compare it with a temporary traffic control plan, and so on. So basically we have this general concept. Internal traffic control is a principle of construction traffic coordination inside the activity area of a temporary traffic control zone. The purpose of the internal traffic control is to separate, to the extent possible, construction vehicles and equipment from workers on foot. That is the main idea. How can we separate workers on foot from heavy equipment? That's the main principle inside of the internal traffic control plan. Protect workers on foot by separating workers on foot from heavy equipment using some engineer methods, design methods. How can you design the work zone in a way in which you can minimize the interaction between workers on foot and heavy equipment? So in this graphic, we can realize, we can compare the area for the temporary traffic control plan and the internal traffic control plan. So the area in the red oval is the activity area. Okay, we have traffic also inside, our own equipment, of course, and we are going to focus very much how can we control the traffic inside of the work zone. Outside of the work zone, we have all the regular traffic. It is the domain of the temporary traffic control plan, the MUTCD. But inside of the work zone, actually, we don't have any specific rule from OSHA, from the Federal Highway Administration. Actually, we need to create our own rules, because you can go to the books, you can go to the regulations, standards, and we don't have specific rules about the traffic inside the work zone. So what we do in the internal traffic control plan is to use best practices, best ideas in the industry, how to prevent runovers and backovers inside of the work zone. Okay. Different from the MUTCD, in the temporary traffic control plan, in which we have the MUTCD and other rules from the Federal Highway Administration. So, an effective internal traffic control protocol informs all parties operating within the workspace about the location of others. So communication is key in the internal traffic control plan. Okay, how can we communicate what is our plan with our workers, with our operators, other companies, visitors, inspectors, DOT? So everybody should be aware about the plan. For example, when we have an inspector from the DOT arriving to a work zone, it could be very useful to have a sort of map helping the inspector to navigate in the work zone. Where should I park my vehicle? Where is the foreman's office? So, and additional rules that you have to know before arriving to the work zone inclusive. So it's a concept. Communication is very important for an internal traffic control plan. So then we can read here, internal traffic control creates zones designed to minimize interaction between workers on foot and construction vehicles. That's again the main principle. If you want to create an internal traffic control plan, your main idea is how to separate workers on foot from heavy equipment. That's the main idea, basically. So an internal traffic control plan designates routes and operating procedures for large truck delivery materials. Large trucks, dump trucks are they are our biggest concern. Okay, what is happening with large trucks is that they have very big blind spots. So especially when they are backing up, people should be very aware that it's a very, very risky operation. We have to train our workers on foot and also, of course, the operators to be sure that they can control the backing up operation. Because most of the runovers and backovers we have in the war zone are because of dump trucks equipments. The plan creates a traffic pattern to minimize backing. The internal traffic control facilitates communication among key work zone parties in advance of arrival to the construction site. We were talking a little about it before. Limit access points to the work zone, access and exit or egress zones. We have to be very clear about the access zones to prevent workers to walk around the access zone, prevent workers to park their vehicles or other vehicles to be around the access zone. We are going to talk more about it. Coordinates truck and equipment movements. We are going to talk a little more about it later. Provides information on traffic paths and safe work areas for workers. Yep, communication is key. And create some rules are very important for us. So heightens awareness of workers on foot in relation to vehicle traffic in the work area. Okay, so we have traffic inside. Sometimes operators are not aware about how risky is their activity. Sometimes workers on foot are complacent about it. They don't know the risk that they have when they are walking around heavy equipment. So we have to help them to be aware about it. And this presentation is going to give you some ideas about the problem. So what is the difference between an internal traffic control plan and a temporary traffic control plan? You have this, in a temporary traffic control plan, you have the MUTCD. The internal traffic control plan, you only have guidance, good ideas, good practices in the industry. As I told you, we don't have any rule from OSHA or the Federal Highway Administration about how to manage the internal traffic control plan, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to do it. OSHA, thinking about the general duty clause, in which employers have the obligation to protect workers from any recognized hazard. The problem that we have in the work zone is traffic. If this is our main cause of incidents, we need a plan to neutralize the hazard, as we do with any other hazard. Basically, OSHA is asking us, hey, you need a plan for fall protection, confined spaces, and so on. They didn't mention specifically that we need a plan for traffic, but using the general duty clause, OSHA inspectors are using the general duty clause to say you need a plan to control your traffic inside the work zone because it is the main cause of accidents, incidents. So temporary traffic control plans are defined and prescribed in the U.S. Federal Highway Administration Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD. Internal traffic control is an industry recommended practice and is not prescribed by law. So we don't have any specific law regulating this area. Okay. Temporary traffic control plans focus on moving traffic safely through a work zone. They are more focused on the traffic, on the motorists. The internal traffic control plan focuses more on keeping workers on foot from being struck by construction equipment, by your own equipment, and large trucks within the activity area of a work zone. So the internal traffic control plan is more focused on workers on foot safety, okay, and how can we prevent incidents with our own equipment. Comparing both, the MUTCD temporary traffic control plan is more focused on motor vehicles using the MUTCD as a regulation. They have typical applications. You can open your MUTCD and find several typical applications. Typical application notes, traffic safety engineers also are there to help us to design or improve any plan that we have. If it's not in the MUTCD, in the typical applications, we need a traffic safety engineer to design a plan. And comparing it with the internal traffic control plan, it's more focused on construction equipment and workers on food safety. It's a good practice. It's recommended by NIOSH, by ARBA, by OSHA also. We don't have typical applications in the internal traffic control plan, but we can create our own diagrams. Okay? Actually, we are going to ask our foremans to create the diagrams anytime we have a change and share it with all the stakeholders, workers on food, operators, companies, DOTs, and everybody who has anything to do with the work zone. Okay, and basically all these things we are asking the foreman different to have, instead of having an engineer, we're asking a foreman to design the work zone in a way in which we minimize interaction between workers on food and heavy equipment. So we are going to talk about it and how to do it in this presentation. Concept in common, well, they have a different focus. We did it before, but both are trying to provide clear direction to drivers. Okay, separating moving vehicles from workers on foot. In both plans, we have that intention. Using temporary traffic control devices to mark traffic paths. Okay, we can use temporary traffic control devices inside the work zone too. We don't have any prohibition, so we can do it. Maintaining a smooth traffic flow. So it's some of the common ideas in both plans. So primary differences: temporary traffic control plans do not address traffic in the workspace. Okay, they address traffic outside the workspace. Internal traffic control plan focus on worker safety. Temporary traffic control plans focus on motorist safety. Internal traffic control plans focus primarily on directing movement of construction vehicles engaged in construction work. So our focus in an internal traffic control plan is our activity area. Okay, not outside. It is outside is the realm for the temporary traffic control plan and then UTCD. Inside is internal traffic control plan and or good practices guidance that we can create. So it means that we can create our own rules, and we encourage companies, construction companies, organizations to create our own rules. And we are going to explore what rules can we create, okay, to prevent incidents and accidents. So our main intention, internal traffic control plans protect workers on foot. A definition here about workers on foot. A worker on foot or pedestrian worker are those employees who perform most of their duties outside vehicles and equipment. They are particularly vulnerable to being struck by equipment. Every person on the site has the responsibility to be vigilant and work safely. Inclusive operators could be workers on foot when they leave their vehicles. Okay, and it should be, safety is about cooperation. You know, sometimes just shutting out or telling somebody, hey, move, it can save a life. It's a matter of seconds. So moderator, we have this preventer. When we talk about preventing runovers and backovers, we are talking about these main causes: motorist intrusion, and also our own equipment killing our work. Okay, we have some statistics showing us how much fatalities we have because of our own equipment. This is our most recent information from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We can realize that if we add all the equipment in the work zone and compare it with the vehicles intrusion, motorist intrusion, we can realize that we are almost similar now in the number of fatalities. So some years ago, people or fatalities caused by our own equipment were higher than motorist intrusion fatalities or fatalities caused by motorist intrusion. Now we have something is showing us that they are very similar in numbers, and apparently we were talking with some experts and they are saying, hey, your training is working. It could be helping people to be more aware about how to prevent runovers and backovers inside the work zone. So, yep, but we have to be aware that our equipment or vehicles are killing as many workers on foot as motorist intrusion now. So our main problem are construction vehicles. You can realize in this picture, workers are focused on their job. Workers on foot are focused on their job, and they are working in a very busy area with heavy equipment around, and sometimes the operators cannot see them, and sometimes there is a problem of distraction and lack of organization. So if we don't organize the work zone in a way in which we can separate workers on foot from heavy equipment, we could have incidents more frequently. So we have to be aware about this situation. Enter and exit areas for the work zone. We have incidents also in these areas because we are working especially with dump trucks, heavy equipment, and they don't have enough visibility. And we are going to talk a little more about access and egress zones that are important for us. You can realize here in this picture, we have workers on foot, and in the middle of all this big equipment, okay, they could be invisible for the operator, and sometimes they don't know it, they don't realize it. Operators cannot realize very much about how big are the blind spots, and workers on foot don't realize that sometimes they are invisible for the operator's perspective, and we need to help them to realize that they are on risk, especially for blind spots. Of course, we can ask everybody to use a high visibility vest, all our equipment, but if a worker on foot is in a blind spot, he is invisible from the operator's perspective, okay? So, and they need to be aware about it, because if there is a backing up operation and you are in a blind spot, it's possible to have an incident. So we have to talk with our workers about blind spots very much. Mirrors doesn't cover everything. Mirrors don't cover everything, okay? They are limited in visibility. We did some demonstration and exercises, and we find that they cannot help us very much to control blind spots, especially blind spots immediately in front of the vehicle, immediately behind the vehicle, in the right side. The visibility is very limited from the operator's perspective. Maybe the left side is much better. That's why we recommend, if you are using or working with the spotters, the left side is the best place where to be. But blind spots are big, especially immediately in front of the vehicle, in the right side, and of course behind the vehicle. And the mirrors cannot help us very much to control all these areas. Let me share with you a short video created by Arba about blind spots and dump trucks.
Each year, approximately 50 roadway construction workers are killed when they are run over or backed over by vehicles. Most of these workers are killed by construction trucks and equipment. Large dump trucks are primarily responsible. Of all the construction vehicles used on roadway sites, large dump trucks have the biggest blind spots. Blind spots are those areas around the vehicle where the driver or operator cannot see workers or other equipment. There are three critical areas around dump trucks where blind spots can lead to the most dangerous conditions: behind the truck, out of mirror range, the right side, and immediately in front. It is important for both drivers and workers on foot to understand the danger of these blind spots. Workers should stay clear of them. Drivers should know where workers are located. When performing particularly dangerous operations, such as backing or dumping, a trained spotter should be employed who can communicate clearly with the driver using standard signals. A good practice is to dress the spotter in high visibility clothing that distinguishes him or her from the other workers on foot. Mirrors improve the driver's ability to see workers near the vehicle, but large blind spots remain, especially behind, on the right side, and immediately in front of a truck. If a worker is too close, he or she is virtually invisible. By walking a safe distance from the truck, the worker becomes much more visible. When walking near a truck behind the cab, check to see that you can see the driver in the mirror. That is your first step in ensuring the driver can see you. Next, always wear a high visibility hard hat and vest. Some personal protective equipment can make you more visible. Other equipment can make you more invisible. Always be aware of your surroundings. Most importantly, work with your supervisor, coworker, and drivers to make sure there is communication to let you know where each other is working. Workers must stay away from traffic paths, and drivers must stay away from workers on foot. And here's another key point for drivers. Keep your line of vision unobstructed. Even small items placed on your dashboard or window stickers can create or enlarge blind spots. Likewise, dirty and cracked mirrors and windows can obscure the view of workers on foot. Keep them clean and in good condition. The fact is, blind spots are a problem we're going to encounter for a long time. Knowing their hazards and ways to compensate for them will help prevent a lot of worker runovers and backovers.
So we can see here different vehicles and different blind spots. So every vehicle has a different blind spot. And it is important to remember it to our operators because sometimes they get used to one vehicle and they're asked to work with a different vehicle and they don't realize that the blind spots are going to be different. And we have accidents, incidents because of this. So the operators sometimes are confident that they have a lot of experience driving a vehicle, and suddenly they are asked to work a different kind of vehicle, and there are statistics showing us that that is the moment in which they have incidents, when they don't realize that they need to be more cautious than in general, because this new vehicle has different blind spots, and that dynamics, distances, the mechanics of the vehicles are different. So they need to be more cautious whenever they are using a different vehicles than the one that they were used to drive. So you can compare here a different kind of heavy equipments, and you can realize that the dump trucks have the biggest blind spots compared with the scraper, with the road recyclers or climbers. So dump trucks are the main cause of incidents. We think it is because of the blind spots we have there, especially when they are backing up. You can see in these pictures that the workers on foot are practically invisible from the operator's perspective because of the blind spots. And we need to train both operators and workers on foot about this problem, because they can become complacent about it and don't realize that they are on risk. Now we are going to talk a little about workers killed by motorists, that is also preventing runovers and backovers. This topic is, as I told you, is more about the temporary traffic control plan, the MUTCD, and it has its own training program. But we are going to talk a little about this problem also. Okay? Motorist intrusion, especially. It was now motorist intrusion and fatalities caused by your own equipment are almost the same in number of victims. It used to be the second highest cause of workers being struck by motorists, behind our own equipment killing or workers, but it is happening too. So two ways workers are killed by traffic. One is by our own equipment, and the other one is, of course, by motorist intrusion. Workers killed by motorists, usually why do we have this situation? Usually it is because workers are not visible to motorists. They are not using the high visibility vests, or they are working at night without enough visibility protection, lights. motorists are surprised by the work zone and temporary traffic control setup. If we don't train our workers to set up a good temporary traffic control plan, maybe we can create an accident. Motorists ignore warnings. It happens, of course. They could be under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or sleepy, or simply they don't want to follow instructions. So we can have accidents because of this situation. Sometimes temperature control devices are confusing, not complain. Maybe they are broken, they are fade by the sunlight, the UV rays. We need to be aware about when do we need to change our temperature control devices to. Let's see this case, this video. So the question is, why do we have this incident? Basically, the idea is that the workers didn't follow the MUTCD. The temporary traffic control plan was not created in the right way. They didn't follow any typical application. Maybe just they were asked to do the job, take some cones, some barrels, some signs, and go and do the job. And we can realize that according to MUTCD, we have 4 areas in a work zone. The advanced warning area, in which we put all the signs helping motorists to realize they are near work zone. In this video, we didn't see any advanced warning area. Then we have the transition area. We have here a transition area, actually, but usually we need to create a buffer between the transition area and the activity area. In this case, we don't have any space. We didn't have any space to prevent this accident or allow the motorist to use the brakes before crashing against the truck attenuator. But we have to use the MUTCD and teach our workers how to use the MUTCD, how to create a temporary traffic control plan, an effective temporary traffic control plan to prevent this kind of accidents, incidents. Okay, so that's why it's important. In this case, if we don't create a plan according to the MUTCD and we just put some cones and barrels, we could have this kind of incidents. So workers killed by motorists also because drivers are distracted or impaired, phones, food, drugs, alcohol, drowsiness, etc. It used to be, according to the statistics, texting was the main cause of accidents in some years ago. We have some new regulations, some penalties against people driving and texting at the same time. Now, according to the statistics, rubbernecking is the main cause of accidents, especially if we have a main accident. It's possible to have a second and third accidents in the same place just because people were watching what happened with the first accident and they were distracted, and they have accidents because they were distracted during that time. So rubbernecking is now the #1 cause of accidents, incidents in traffic in general. Second is texting, according to the new statistics, but it's basically distraction. We need people to be alert. Okay. Then traffic is traveling at high speed through the work zone. We need to maybe use some control measures. Sometimes asking a police car to be in the place, some laser speed control, and some other devices to help people to realize they are driving near a war zone and they have to reduce their speed. Additional risky worker behavior. So our workers can also contribute to these accidents and incidents. Sometimes they are distracted, preoccupied by work or any other thing. Sometimes they become comfortable in dangerous environment. So they could say, hey, I've been working for 5 years in this environment, nothing happened. And you know, safety is about the statistics. Sometimes nothing happened during a while, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen in the future. And we need to explain it to our workers, okay? So because someday the worker is going to be distracted, someday a driver is going to be distracted, and it could happen the same day, and we could have an accident because of this, okay? So just help our workers to realize that it is possible to have these incidents, and it's better to prevent it than continue doing some activities that are not helping them to be safe. So then we can read here, not convenient access to and from workspace. It is interesting because it's about how are we going to design the work zone, okay? For example, where are you going to put the restroom, the food and water areas, shade, breaks, other local work areas. So we need to put all these resources near the workers. So they just need to walk to the area without crossing any traffic lane. So if we can design a work zone in this way, we can prevent also incidents. So they don't need to cross any traffic line to get all these resources. So at the end, we can read workers cross traffic lanes, especially in high speed locations. Yep. If they need to go to the restaurant and they need to cross these traffic lanes because the restaurant is on the other side of the street, maybe we are inviting to have an incident. So we are attracting or increasing the possibilities to have an incident. But if we put all these resources near the workers on foot, we can prevent this situation, the risky situation. How can we prevent deaths caused by motorists? Well, use the temporary traffic control plan. Use the MUTCD. The MUTCD has typical applications. Let's teach our workers about the typical applications. Actually, we have software, the Roadway Safety Plus software. If you can get it, you can visit the workzonsafety.org webpage. We are going to talk more about it later. But there you can download the Roadway Safety Plus. It's a training program. And inside of this training program, we have some applications, very interesting application in which we can fit the program with the information about where is it going, using the typical application, the speed, the nature of the roadway, and they can print a temporary traffic control plan, and we can give it to our workers in a way in which they know where should they put all the cones, barrels, signs, what distance between one sign and the other, and so on. But it is important to allow our workers to know about the temporary traffic control devices, temporary traffic control plan, and all these resources that we have to prevent accidents. Okay. It says comply with MUTCD or corresponding state document. Yeah, inspect and maintain the temporary traffic control devices. They should be in good condition, high visibility all the time. Ensure only a qualified engineer makes necessary modification. If it is necessary to make a special modification, in addition to the MUTCD, we are going to need an engineer to do this modification. Create safe procedures for deployment and retrieval of temporary traffic control devices. We have a lot of accidents here, okay? And we have been improving in the last years. We have new devices, new safety devices to prevent workers from falling from the equipment when they are retrieving or putting all this, deploying all these temporary traffic control devices. And also ensure sufficient temporary traffic control devices for all parts of the project. So let's provide all these resources to our workers to be safe, okay? Workers should be aware of the temporary traffic control devices in the work location. If there is something that is not in compliance, there is something that is broken, or there was some signs or cones or barrels that were moved because of the traffic, that there was a near miss in the area. So we need to train our workers to disclose these things to our supervisor or the foreman, okay? Because all these devices are here to protect not only motorists, but also workers. So workers may correct misaligned devices if it is safe for them to do so and they understand where the device is supposed to be situated. So the idea is, if there is no risk for you, we can train our workers to do it by themselves. But if they need to deal with traffic, they cannot do it by themselves. They cannot try to retrieve or put again the device in the right position if they need to cross any traffic lane. They need to disclose it to the foreman, and he is going to organize the situation to stop the traffic and retrieve or put again all the devices in the right position. So we have here an example of a motorist intrusion and what are the recommendations that we have from NIOSH, especially to prevent this motorist intrusion.
Three construction workers employed by a paving company sustained fatal injuries when they were struck by a passenger bus in a highway work zone. The work zone, located in the southbound lane of an interstate highway, was demarcated by the required orange traffic cones and warning signs. The right lane was closed to traffic. The bus braked as it approached the work zone and swerved to avoid hitting slow-moving traffic ahead. The bus hit a motorcycle and the rear of a tractor trailer. Then the bus crashed through the cones, striking workers at the back of a cement truck. After hitting these workers, the bus hit the cement truck and pushed it over 50 feet into a parked pickup truck, injuring another 3 workers. The result: 1 worker was pronounced dead on the scene. 2 workers were taken to the hospital and died there. 3 other workers were injured, treated, and released. The motorcyclist and 6 bus passengers were treated at a local hospital for injuries. The bus driver had critical injuries, was hospitalized, and recovered. The following lessons learned are recommendations from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. In order to avoid similar fatalities, management should consider the following. Use protective barriers to separate workers from traffic. Use portable rumble strips or speed bumps to warn drivers as they near work zones. Station police officers at the start and end of work zones to enforce speed limits. Use clear zones in every construction site to protect vehicles and workers. In addition, workers should remember, stay alert at all times. Know the traffic control plan. Stay inside the barriers. Have an emergency exit plan at all times.
So we have the MUTCD, the temporary traffic control plan, and all the resources, but sometimes they are not enough. So we have to add additional safety measures. For example, having a policeman vehicle, a police car vehicle in the war zone. According to the statistics, people reduce their speed around 10 miles an hour if they can see a police car in the workplace. So rumble strips, of course, sometimes people are visually distracted, but they can feel that vibration from the rumble strips, and they can be alert and say, "What? Where am I?" So I'm near a war zone. I have to be cautious. Sometimes people are visually distracted, but the rumble strip can call their attention to be more alert. So we need to train our workers about where to put all the temporary traffic control devices. Also, we need to use a track attenuator, of course, if it is required according to the circumstances. We can use technology, improve the use of technologies too. So there are some devices that alert people when there is a motorist intrusion too. This is a short case about track mounted attenuator. Let's see how can it help to prevent an accident. So sometimes it's not mandatory, but in other cases they are mandatory and they are very useful, as we can realize in this situation. Just to protect our workers on foot in the other side. Especially when we have these moving operations in which our workers are just putting or deploying or retrieving some temporary traffic control devices or painting. It's not a permanent operation. It's just moving operation. So we can use these track mounted attenuators. Also, look, it is a principle that we need to apply to everything. OSHA now is very, very concerned about hazard identification. Okay, what is the main thing you need to do when you arrive to work zone is identify the hazards. Okay, you identify the hazard, and we usually ask or engineers or safety engineers, supervisors to identify the hazard, but OSHA now wants everybody in the work zone to be able to identify the hazards. Any worker could do it. Okay, you identify the hazard. Now what you have to do? You identify the hazard. We have a hazard here. Sometimes we have power lines in the work zone, near the work zone. So we are going to do a trenching activities in this area. It's possible to have cave-ins for protection on the other side. You can identify all the hazards. Now you identify all the hazard. What are you going to do? OSHA is requiring us or recommending us to do this hierarchy or safety controls. Okay, the idea is what are the measures that you're going to take to prevent this hazard to affect your workers. So basically, try to eliminate the hazard, try to provide substitution, engineer control, administrative controls, personal protective equipment. This pyramid is showing us that elimination is more effective, for example, than providing just personal protective equipment. What are we talking about elimination? For example, you are working in a highway, in a roadway, and you can realize that the traffic is very bad in this area. Maybe you can talk, or the construction company can talk with the DOT to say, hey, look, maybe we can move the traffic from this area to another area so we can prevent traffic in this war zone. Okay, so you eliminate traffic. That's a way to solve the problem, more effective than just providing personal protective equipment, for example. So it shows us what measures can we take or should we take, what is the order of the measure, and how is it going to be the impact on worker safety if we use this hierarchy of controls. And it is interesting, the four first ones are more about what can the company do to prevent an accident, and the personal protective equipment, yeah, it depends more on the worker to use the personal protective equipment. But the other four are basically the measures that the company can take to prevent the accident. Substitution, in this case, when we work with chemicals, for example, there are some chemicals that you know that they can produce cancer. They are not still prohibited, but they can produce cancer. And we have another chemical that doesn't produce cancer, and you can use another product. Substitution, for example, in the work zone industry, roadway construction industry, you can use a truck with better technology to prevent runovers and backovers. And you can buy this truck. Maybe it is going to be $10,000 more expensive than a regular truck. But these new technologies maybe are going to help you to prevent an accident that can cost you $300,000 in the long term. Okay, engineer controls. What we are doing with that internal traffic control plan is basically designing the work zone in a way in which we can separate workers on foot from heavy equipment. And administrative controls, we are talking about training, especially training or also how we organize our workers to prevent accidents. For example, flaggers. In the past, we used to have flaggers working 8 hours all the time, but we also realized that after 2 hours, most of the flaggers are tired, are distracted, they are bored, and maybe it's a good idea to have, instead of having only one flagger, maybe have 5 flaggers so they can rotate. John, you can do it 2 hours, then Mike, then Robert. So in this way, we can keep our workers fresh and alert, just rotating while they are flying. And of course, the last measure to protect our workers is the personal protective equipment. Okay, it's important, of course, it's mandatory to use high visibility vests, but if we can do the others control measures too, it could increase safety a lot. So, and also in this graphic, we are watching how important is planning. Okay, if you are planning for safety in the planning stage of the construction process, your influence of safety is going to be higher. Sometimes I receive a phone call from a company in which they are asking me, hey, can you give us a training about the preventing runovers and backovers? Okay, yes, when do you need it? Tomorrow or in a week. And why is this so urgent for them? Because they already had an accident and OSHA is asking them to have a training to prevent it to happen in the future. But it is just providing training during the construction phase of the project. And now the impact of safety is going to be lower because they already had an accident. But if we provide a training just before starting the project, train our workers about how to prevent accidents, the impact it could be higher and we can prevent this fatality that we were talking about. Okay, this is the first module. Paula, I know you have some questions for the students at this moment to verify that they are here, and also we can take maybe 5 minutes break. So Paula, please continue.
Okay, I will go ahead and launch the first question here for the group. First question, from the driver's perspective, which place around a dump truck is the safest for a spotter? So if you all are on full screen, just hit the escape button one time to be able to vote on your screen. And Robinson, do you want me to open up all of them after we use them all right now? Okay. All right, we have about 50% who voted so far. Gonna wait another couple seconds here, give everyone an opportunity.
Yes, it's important for the students to answer this question so we can verify that they are here and they can get the credits for being in the class.
All right, we have about 68% who voted. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll. So Robinson, we have 23% who voted immediately ahead, 13% on the right side, 57% said on the left side, 7% said behind the truck, and no one voted for under the truck.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah, remember the blind spot. We are talking about blind spots here. So immediately in front, the vehicle is a blind spot, usually, especially for a dump truck. The right side is also a blind spot. We can have mirrors there, but they don't cover all the areas. Behind the vehicle, of course, is a blind spot, and it's very dangerous to be there. So for the spotter, the best place where to be is the left side. from the operator's perspective. So they all, especially we ask the operator to have the window open, and usually they have a direct vision to the left side, and they can use the mirror to see the spoiler in the left side. So we recommend the spoilers to be in the left side. Of course, there are exceptional cases, but in general, this is the general recommendation. So Paula, if it's okay, we can take a break, 5 minutes break, and we can continue at 11:10.
Okay, you want me to open the next poll question at 11:10?
No. The next
Okay.
is going to be at the end of the
Got it. All right.
That's it.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
5-minute break, 11:10.
Mhm. Okay, Paula, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, great. Let's continue. Well, we are going to talk about preventing runovers and backovers, especially from the workers and food perspective, okay? What can we teach our workers on food to be safe while they are working in the roadway construction industry? So our objectives are explain how to prevent incident from the perspective of a worker on food, describe high-risk operations that increase runovers and backovers incidents, especially with workers on food. Let's start with this case. This case could happen in a work zone, okay? Let's follow up. So that the operator is thinking, okay, is it a bump? What's happening here? He cannot see to the right side. The mirrors are not helping. Now maybe the mirrors are allowing him to realize what's happening behind, and he stops. Sorry, it is an impressive video, but we need just to use sometimes this kind of videos to allow our students to be aware about the risk. Okay, if it were a worse, it is happening on the street, okay, which is worse. Talking about the legal liabilities for this incident is much worse. We are talking about the compensation, not only, well, the suffering, of course, of the human beings and the family, but from the company perspective, we are talking about a liability of millions of dollars for this incident. Okay, but it could happen also with workers on food. Of course, our workers are assuming some risks to be there working, but that the incident could happen and we can affect them too. What can we do to prevent this incident? Actually, we can talk about high visibility vest, being alert all the time. High visibility vests are helping a lot. You cannot realize. I have some videos I cannot show you because of the time we have here, but high visibility vests, people can realize there is somebody there 1,000 feet distance if somebody is using a high visibility vest, especially at night. Okay, if people are using dark colors, they are almost invisible for the drivers, operators' perspective, especially at night. But a high visibility vest can help you to improve visibility a lot. And we are talking about also blind spots. Okay, maybe we know that the operator didn't want to kill the victim, but maybe he was distracted. Maybe he was distracted because there was also a tree here. Maybe he couldn't realize there was a worker or a pedestrian here because of the color of the clothes were mimicking the color of the environment, the gray area. Or look, maybe the structure of the cabin also can create blind spots. I remember my boss was driving and I had to say stop. Why? Because somebody was crossing the street and he couldn't see the person because just the structure of the car couldn't allow him to see the person. So it can happen to us also in regular vehicles. You can figure out how worse is this if we are talking about dump trucks. So it could happen. So it's a problem for us, and we need to discuss how can we prevent these incidents. Okay. So it's important to talk with our workers. If traffic is a problem, we need a plan to control traffic. If an internal traffic is a problem, we need a plan. And we are going to talk about part of the plan is training our workers and helping them to be aware about the problems that we have here. We can have a toolbox talk before we start working. We can discuss the plan what are the areas only for workers of foot, what are the areas of traffic, how to prevent them to cross any traffic lane, if possible, putting all the resources they need to use in a place near the work zone in which they don't need to use any or cross any traffic lane. For example, we are talking about water, food, restroom, shade, rest area, parking areas. All these areas, if possible, they should be near the workers on foot in a way they don't need to cross any traffic lane, okay? In internal or external. We have to think about the habits and behavior of our workers. Being alert is absolutely important for us. Being alert all the time is crucial for the work zone, for our safety. We need to talk with our workers about the use of headphones, for example, music. It's prohibited here. We need to create a rule prohibiting workers to use headphones, music while they are working, because sometimes just yelling them, hey, move, it could save a life. But if they are using headphones, they cannot hear anything, okay? What about cell phones? We can go to the OSHA or FHWA. We don't have any specific regulation about the use of cell phones, but we, in a construction company, you, the owner, the foreman, the safety director has the authority to create a rule saying, hey, we are not going to use cell phones while you are working. It could be a prohibition, okay? Or it could be another rule. If you need to make a phone call, you need to walk to a safe area. For example, near the restroom, the food area, the rest area, in which we don't have traffic. But it should be only a phone call if it's absolutely an emergency or something like that. Other companies create a rule: when you arrive, you should leave your cell phone in the office of the foreman, and so on. But we need to create a rule for to deal with this problem, because as you can realize, the work zone is a heavy noise area. If somebody is trying to talk using a cell phone, they are going to be distracted by the noise. Maybe they are going to plug one ear to focus more on the conversation using the cell phone. Maybe they are going to become distracted, and then we can have an accident because of this distraction. Okay, so just create a rule about it. Workers must be visible. We have specific rules about it. We need them to high visibility vests, especially class 2, the minimum one. Class 3, as the one that we are watching here, especially if you are working at night in a low visibility area, high speed area, especially if you are a flagger or a spotter, you need a class 3 high visibility vest. In some places, in general, according to the Federal Highway Administration, class 2 is enough in regular circumstances, but class 3 is required under special circumstances. Okay, and there are companies or states that have created some rules saying, no, we require workers to use class 3 all the time. Okay, so high visibility vests are mandatory. Blind spots, we need workers to be aware about the blind spot. Let me show you this. We were doing some exercises in the past with construction companies, asking them, hey, can you provide us a dump truck? We want to do a demonstration with our workers, and we were asking every student to go inside of the cabin to realize how big are the blind spots from the operator's perspective. So we did this video to show us how, from the operator's perspective, you cannot see any of these cones or barrels. Let's run the show. So you have all the cones, barrels, hard hats.
Furthermore, what if I were to be doing? Or I were to be doing?
You are invisible under these circumstances. Now you are the operator, okay? This is the cabin. and you cannot see any of the cones or barrels. We have a lot of cones and barrels around, but from the operator perspective, you cannot see them. So workers on foot are practically invisible under these circumstances in these areas. Okay, that's why it's important to help them to recognize the blind spots are areas in which the operator cannot see them. Immediately in front the vehicle, the right side, and of course behind the vehicle. Maybe the safest place to be is the left side, especially for the spotters, but both operators and workers on foot should be aware that they cannot see each other in these circumstances. So workers must be visible all the time. Spoilers should be used when backing is required near workers on foot, especially if you have traffic behind you, workers on foot or other equipment, you are going to need a spotter. Okay, we have some states, Washington State and Virginia, they make it mandatory to have a spotter if you don't have a camera. A camera helping you to with the screen to see what's happening behind you. If you don't have it or it's not working, you need to have a spotter, especially in Washington State and Virginia, in which they make it clear that it is the rule. You have a camera. If you don't have a camera to see what's happening behind, you need a spotter. But in general, it's a good practice. So also, workers on foot can be complacent, thinking that, hey, I am in a clear area, not in a blind spot. The operator can see me, but it happens that sometimes the operator is so focused doing his job or her job that he cannot see people around. That's why it's important to teach our workers on foot. You need to talk with the operator, or you need to cross an area in which the operator is working. You need to call his attention or her attention using a hand signal and wait for the operator to stop the vehicle and give you a hand signal back. Because if not, you are not sure if the operator is watching you. You are not sure if the operator is aware that you are there. Of course, we have to train our workers to avoid these circumstances, but in some situations, you don't have a radio, you need to talk directly with the operator near the equipment. And if the operator is not aware that you are there, there could be an incident. For example, here we have this guy during the class, face-to-face class. Nobody is sure that this guy is watching you or not. We are going to do an awareness test, a visual test, just to make a point about if you are focusing something, sometimes you cannot realize what's happening around you.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
So are you ready? This is a task. Maybe you did it before, but if not, enjoy the test.
No!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
No!
So according to the statistics, people watching this video for the first time, 40% of the people watching this video for the first time, they couldn't see the monkey. So it is interesting that sometimes you are focused so much doing some activities that you cannot realize what's happening around. And it happens to the operators too. They are focusing on their vehicle, the equipment, the task they are doing, and sometimes their peripheral vision is not working, and they cannot realize that there is a work in the area. And we have several incidents because of this situation. So let's teach our workers on foot. If they need to walk near a heavy equipment, moving heavy equipment, or they need to be near the equipment, or they need to talk with the operator, they need to use a hand signal or a radio to make the operator aware that they are here in the area, and they need to wait for the operator to stop the vehicle and respond to your request with a hand signal or a radio communication. So if not, our workers on foot are not sure that the operator is watching them or not. And also we have to train our workers about distraction, okay? Changes from routine increases risk. Every distraction can create a hazard, a problem. We need to be alert all the time. For example, if there was an accident in the roadway, what's going to happen? They are working in a work zone and there was an accident in the roadway near the work zone. So what is going to be the immediate reaction from our workers and operators? Maybe they are going to stop and watch what's happening. Maybe the operator is not going to stop and just continue driving and watching what was happening, and he was completely distracted, while the worker on foot is also distracted watching the explosion or whatever is happening. So we need to train our workers about it and be professional. In this moment in which everybody is distracted, you have to be more alert, because any change of the routine increases risks. So minimize, what can we do in these circumstances? Minimize movement of vehicles when workers on foot are performing changeover, repair, or other tasks especially near the vehicle. Do not sacrifice safety procedures during such times. Okay, maybe to stop completely what you are doing, and if you are in a situation to help the victims, do it. Call 911. If not, just continue doing whatever your regular activities. Okay. Let's see another case here. A distraction, a situation. This vehicle is about also communication is important. Okay. As you can realize, I am a native Spanish speaker, and we have a big problem with Hispanic workers. So we are talking about 25% of our workers here in the US are Hispanic, but 30% of the accidents are happening to them. Maybe it is because of the lack of communication, or maybe it's a cultural problem because Hispanic Latino workers are more they want to do the job, and they consider that doing the job and taking risks for the company is a good thing, and we need to teach them, hey, no, don't take risks. We want you to be safe. If you have an accident, it's going to be a big problem for the company, and teach them and empower them about it, because they think sometimes that being a good worker is taking risks, and they need to change that culture. And let's see what's happening in this video. Okay.
On April 26, 2004, a 26-year-old non-English speaking laborer was backed over by a flatbed dump truck while working on a roadway work site. The victim, the flatbed dump truck driver, parked his truck in the work site and walked to the tailgate area, where he met another worker. The two began walking eastward together towards the rest of the work crew, with the victim proceeding in front of the other laborer. A different driver entered the truck, intending to drive to another work site. Prior to leaving, this new driver received a radio call he couldn't understand. He placed the truck in reverse to drive to the crew to learn what was needed. The work crew attempted to warn the victim that the truck was approaching behind them. The worker behind the victim saw the warnings in the truck and jumped out of the way. The victim did not. After feeling a thud, the driver stopped. He got out of the truck, found the victim on the ground, and called 911. The victim was transported by ambulance to the hospital and was pronounced dead in the emergency room. The following lessons learned are recommendations from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. In order to avoid similar fatalities, management should consider the following. Ensure training meets language and literacy level needs of all workers. Develop and implement specific training for operators and workers on foot regarding driver blind areas on equipment. Develop, implement, and enforce procedures that minimize exposure of workers on foot to moving vehicles and equipment. Ensure backing procedures are in place and that drivers have communication with workers on foot and use a designated spotter to direct backing. In addition, workers should remember, stay out of blind spots. Assume that the driver cannot see you if you can't see them. Know the traffic control plan, TCP. Operators should never back up blindly.
So the main idea in this video is minimize backing up operations. If you have to back up, it should be a control operation. Maybe using a camera, maybe using a spotter. And this accident could happen to anybody. It happened, we have several other videos similar to this one, happened to regular English speaker workers who were distracted. It is something we need to emphasize, the operators especially, how to drive safely in the war zone. And that's why we are going to continue with another module focused on worker safety from the operator's perspective. Okay, so what do we need to teach our workers or operators, especially to keep workers on foot safe, to prevent accidents? Okay, so we are going to talk a little about operators, spotters, and flaggers, people working around the heavy equipment. So our objectives here are explain how to prevent incidents from the perspective of an operator, explain how to prevent incidents from the perspective of a spotter and a flagger, and explain how technology can help us to reduce incidents. Okay, so let's share this video about an operator and the risk, because operators are also on risk to rollover hazards, and that's important to have spotters, and they need to be trained to help not only to navigate horizontally, but they should be aware about problems behind a vehicle or above the vehicle. Behind the vehicle is the nature of the soil. We can have rollovers hazard because of the nature of the soil, or also we have electrocution hazard because of there are some power lines above the equipment. So spotters are very important and they need to be trained. It's not enough to just ask somebody to be the spotter. And let's see the problems we have in this video. At that moment, you can realize the spotter notice there is a problem in the soil, the nature of the surface. Okay, but they say to continue working. You know, apparently they continue working. So the question here is, how can we prevent this incident? And the most accurate answer is maybe to ask the engineers to evaluate the nature of the soil before start doing the job, because anytime you are working near a river, you are working with water, and water change the nature of the stability of the soil, and you can have these kind of problems. Of course, another thing that we can talk is if you see something, say something. If the operator can realize there is a problem, or the spotter can realize there is a problem, they have to disclose it immediately. Maybe ask to stop, continue working, because you can have this incident. Also, for the operators, if you are inside of the cabin, look, there are many incidents because operators are trying to jump in these circumstances, and it is worse. According to the statistics, people trying to jump die or have fatalities. We have more fatalities because of people trying to jump instead of staying inside of the cabin. The cabins are they have a rollover hazard structure to prevent any accident incident to happen inside of the cabin. So if our operators are trained to use the safety belt and be calm inside of the cabin, they could be safer inside of the cabin than trying to jump under these circumstances. And apparently he tried to jump, but he couldn't, but he's going to be okay inside of the cabin. So we can talk with our operators about rollover hazards, how to prevent it, and how important are the spotters to control the operations, and also how important is, if you have any doubts about the nature of the soil, there should be some qualified personnel like engineers helping you to identify the problems and find a solution instead of having this incident. Let's see, we have another incident here for our discussion. It involves a flagger.
For a traffic control person, vehicles on the road are not the only danger. For more information, go to worksafebc.com.
So we can talk a little about what was wrong here. How can we prevent this incident? Look, this video is more a promotional video. We can realize there are several problems. For example, with a flagger, you know about flagging operation, there should be another flagger in the other side because of the nature of the area requires to have another flagger. There is a lack of visibility, the traffic is high, so we need another flagger definitely. So also about the distance, if you are a flagger, you are focused about the traffic there, the regular traffic outside of the war zone, okay? But you cannot sometimes be aware, you are focused about the traffic and you cannot be aware about your own safety. You are thinking about your safety related with the motorists, but not about the internal traffic. And that's why it's important to have a good distance, okay? If you are going to work in these circumstances, maybe the operator is going to need a spotter too, okay? If you cannot keep a safe distance, but the idea is keep a safe distance. And these things happen because we don't talk with our people sometimes, and they get comfortable, complacent about these circumstances. It didn't happen to me. I have been working 2 years, and someday you are going to be distracted, and someday the operator is going to be distracted, and it could happen this day and you are going to have a fatality or an incident here. So that's important. What we are talking about is about preventing incidents. The main cause of incidents in the roadway construction sites are the runovers and backovers, and it is because of distraction, not keeping a safe distance, not being aware about the blind spots, and all and so on. So safety is or backing operation are the main cause of incidents in the roadway construction industry. There are several key principles to safe backing in work zone. Backing should be a control operation, used only when necessary, and then under specific conditions. So sometimes, as you watch in the video that we watched some minutes ago, the operator received a radio communication he couldn't understand what he was asked to do. So he decided to back up all the way to the office of the foreman. Back up all the way without any camera, without any spotter or person helping them to back up. It's a crazy decision. So we need to train our operators or everybody to use common sense. And it happens that common sense is not common. And that's why it's important to repeat these trainings regularly, because people can be complacent, or we can have new workers. They need to know about it. It's important. Backing up operations are very risky. We calculate that around 40% of the incidents, fatalities, are because of backing up operations, and they should be controlled. Okay, have a camera or have a spotter to help you to do the operation. And if you don't need to back up, don't do it. Go forward and turn and go forward. That's a better way to drive. There should be clear communication between the operator and workers on foot before backing begins. Okay, and we are going to talk a little more about it in this module. Operators and workers should understand the blind areas around the equipment on site. We talk a lot about blind areas, but it's important workers on foot and operators, they should know about the risk they have around blind spots. There are key practices for each type of worker in the construction zone. Operators should be certain of their surroundings and the location of workers, equipment, and ground obstacles. So the main thing, before we start working, the operator should go around the vehicle, walk around the vehicle, talk with the other workers on foot and say, hey, I'm going to start working, okay? Verify that there is not any obstruction. Sometimes there are vehicles around the other vehicles, cars, regular cars around the heavy equipment, the dump truck, and you cannot see them, okay? Other obstacles around property, new materials, new constructions around the equipment, and you have to be aware about it. Walk around your vehicle. Then also you have to be sure about the mechanics of your vehicle. If you think that the gear is not working properly, the brakes are not working properly, you have to take your vehicle to the mechanics. Okay? Train or workers to do it, because if the brakes is not working, you can have an accident. Of course, if the gears are not working properly, you can have an accident because of this. So, and also verify that all the safety measures are working properly, okay? And that is important to have a spotter in that moment, because you want to know if your brake lights are working, if your backup lights are working, if your backup alarm is working or not. So you need the confirmation for a third party, maybe a spotter, to tell you, yes, your lights, your brake lights are working properly, your backup alarm is working properly, to verify that everything is okay. Then before I start working, we recommend that every operator use the hand twice, maybe. You can create a sort of code with your workers. Anytime the operator is using the hand twice, it means everybody be alert, I'm going to start working, okay? So, but we need to create the rules because they are not written. we don't have we cannot find these rules in the OSHA manual or the OSHA 1926 or the FHWA. We have to create these rules. These are good practices that other companies are applying successfully. So we need to teach these practices to our workers too. Then spotters should be designated and used when practical, and the spotters they are important too. You know, we have training for flaggers. It lasts 4 hours of training. They have to know theory about flagging and then demonstrate that they know how to do the flagging signals and communication while they are working as a flaggers. But spotters are as important as flaggers, but they are focused on the traffic control inside the war zone, and they need a special training. Okay, so just don't ask somebody to do the works of a spotter. You need to train the spotter about the meaning of the signals, where they should be spotting, and so on. We are going to talk a little more about it in this module. Okay, and all workers should be trained to avoid approaching or working near backing equipment. Yeah, as I told you, this is the main cause of incidents, backing up operations. Operators avoid backing up unless necessary, walk around vehicle to check for hazard, be aware of blind areas, use a spotter whenever possible. We talked about it before. Know your surroundings, go around, designate a spotter. Look at this video, okay? This is something I was providing a training some years ago, and the owner of the company shared with me this video from his own garage. So let's see. You can see the spotter doing the job here. Boom. That was enough. You can see the spotter now with paint. So the question is, what can we do to prevent this incident? We need a spotter. Let's see. Spotter need to use a high visibility vest, especially class 3, to be more visible. This guy is just using an overall blue or dark overall. Visibility is less effective because of these colors he is using. Also, he needs to be trained about blind spots. So he decided to go in a blind spot. His position is good in the left side, but at the moment it becomes invisible because he's in a blind spot. The operator cannot see the spotter. And it is worse if you consider that this is a cut it in between situation, because there is another vehicle behind. The spotter can be trapped in the middle of both vehicles, that it happened. So they should be aware. If we teach them, for example, a Focus 4 training, they should be aware about the main cause of incidents: falls, struck by equipment is another cause of incidents. Cut it in between vehicles or equipment or machines, as it happens here, or electrocution are the main cause of incidents in general construction. But we need to train our workers to prevent to be in this situation, okay? If not, they can suffer the consequences. So what are our recommendations for spotters? Spotters are recommended by ANSI. As I told you, it's not mandatory. It's mandatory in OSHA 1926 for cranes, but not for regular dump trucks. So if you go to 1926, there is special regulation about spotters, but it is only for cranes, okay? So spotters are recommended by ANSI and other agencies. They are required by some states when camera radar systems not used. As I told you, Washington State and Virginia has, they have a special regulation about it. I'm sorry. Spotters can also be in danger from vehicles with spotting the spotter. Okay, it's risky because sometimes the spotter is also backing up while he or she is providing instruction, and nobody is spotting the spotter. So that's why we recommend the spotter to ask the operator to stop, turn around, walk maybe 30 feet, 40, 50 feet, and continue providing the instruction. Because if the spotter is just backing up, maybe there is some obstruction behind, the spotter can fall and the vehicle continue backing up, and we have an incident because of this. So a spotter can help when you must work with your back to equipment or traffic, especially in these circumstances. If visual contact is lost with the spotter, stop immediately until the spotter is located. Okay, there should be some rules about the spotting, and we need to train everybody, or especially or a spotter, about it. If you are going to be a spotter, the safest place where to be is in the left side, okay, from the operator's perspective, because the other areas are blind spots. Second, high visibility vest. Use a high visibility vest class 3. If possible, use a high visibility vest with the colors different from the regular workers, because the spotter is an authority, it's a traffic controller. So people should recognize that this person is an authority in the area. So similar to flaggers, that you have to be, or a flagger should be a polite person, good in public relations, in good physical condition. The same rules apply to a spotter, okay? Use a different color. Maybe if everybody is using the lemon green color, maybe you can use the orange. Or if everybody is using the orange color, maybe the spotter can use the yellow green, just to be visible, more visible. There should be always a visual contact between the spotter and the operator, okay? All the time. That should be a rule, visual contact all the time. In a way in which if the operator cannot see the spotter, the operator should stop immediately. Something wrong is happening and find the spotter immediately. Also, if you are the spotter, at any time you need to move and leave your position because you need to go to the restroom or whatever is happening, you need to talk with the operator. Just don't disappear. Talk with the operator and explain, hey, I need to go to the restroom. Please stop by, stop some minutes. I'm going to get another spotter or so on. But just don't disappear, because if not, the operator can think, hey, something wrong is happening. And it's possible that it's happening, okay? That maybe the spotter was also backing up, and there was an obstruction, a hole, or something that caused him to fall down, and the vehicle continue backing up, and they can kill the spotter shot. There should be some special rules. Of course, there should be only one spotter, especially with dump trucks, because the operators complain that if there are so many people providing instructions, it's possible to have an accident. There should be only one spotter. There are some exceptions, okay, but in general, there should be only one spotter in the left side, and that should be enough. And we can create some additional rules about it, because runovers and backovers are so frequent that maybe we need to empower not only the spotter with the authority to stop a vehicle, but also anybody could stop a vehicle. There are some companies in which they create a rule. Any worker on foot has the right and the authority to stop a vehicle at any time, okay? It means that the worker on foot is watching something that the operator is not. But if we don't create a rule, the operator can say, hey, who are you to ask me to stop? I am just working, you are not my boss. And they continue doing their activity, and boom, we have that incident. There is another company, they created a rule. Any worker on foot has the right to stop a vehicle which back up alarm is not working properly, or the lights are not working properly, and ask the operator to take the vehicle immediately to the mechanics. So, but if we don't create that rule, the operator can say, hey, who are you to ask me to stop working or take the vehicle to the mechanics? So it's important to provide this information, okay? So we were covering all this area. There should only be one spotter. Spotters need to be trained in safe work procedures. Yeah, spotters are not used. Workers must communicate with the operator directly before approaching. Eye contact is not enough. We were talking about it before. Look, spotting signals. We don't have any rule in the ocean and in the existence of the FHWA about spotting signals. We have to create our own signals and be sure that operators and spotters know about these signals. We have some signals from crane operators. We can adopt them from dump trucks and other vehicles, but there are some areas in which we need to create our own signals, okay, and make it mandatory. These signals, for example, are coming from Hawaii. They have, as we know, they approve some signals for spotters, but the other states in the USA, they don't have a standard about signals, but we need to create it. We need to create them because if not, it's possible to have confusion in the communication between spotters and operators. And we also can create special vehicle pathways inside of the work zone. When we design the internal traffic control plan, we separate workers on foot from heavy equipment, and we can create special pathways for heavy equipment, just using the temporary traffic control devices inside of the work zone and talking with the workers and operators about the rules that we are going to apply. Okay. Pathways should be marked when deliveries of materials are completed by a variety of subcontractors. We are working with a lot of subcontractors, and we need them to be aware about the rules. And sometimes in the contract, there should be a section about internal traffic control plan, and that the company providing all the materials also adhere to the conditions to keep and respect and execute the internal traffic control plan. Okay, if not, maybe you could find another company to do this activity safely. Multiple operations occur in close proximity to each other. We need to be more cautious. Workers on foot are in the vicinity. The operator need to be more cautious about this situation. Ensuring the drivers, operators know where they should and should not go. That's important to have an internal traffic control plan saying, hey, this is the area for traffic and this is the area for worker on foot. Or the operators, they need to know about it. So ensuring workers know the areas to avoid. Yep, route planning occurs before vehicles arrive on site to separate operations. If you are working with a subcontractor, providing the dump trucks, delivering all the materials, you need to share with them the internal traffic control plan before they arrive. Or sometimes use another person like that ticket person to communicate also this information. Yep, the basic idea here is worker-free and equipment-free zone. When you create an internal traffic control plan, worker-free zones are locations from which workers on foot must stay clear. They include blind areas around the equipment travel lanes, and queue areas in paving trains. Look, these queue areas in which we have a lot of dump trucks waiting to deliver materials are very hazardous because the blind spots are big in front, behind, right side, and sometimes workers start walking around these vehicles and they are not aware that they are just ready to move, and they could have an incident. When equipment, including swing, radius, pinch points, and moving parts, we need to train about these moving equipments to create a sort of circle of safety or a sphere of safety sometimes. Because when we are working with equipment with moving parts, we have to be aware about sometimes power lines, sometimes utilities under buried utilities underground, and also train our spotters to be aware about these problems and provide information and communicate all these situations to our operators. And other hazardous areas such as near power lines, yeah, we were talking about it. Look, this graphic shows a regular paving operation, okay? We don't have any rules. Workers could walk wherever they want. Heavy equipment could drive. Operators can drive wherever they want. But if we create some rules, we can improve safety a lot. For example, all these red areas, workers on foot are prohibited to walk on these areas. They are allowed only on the gray areas, okay? And vice versa, dump trucks, heavy equipment, vehicles are prohibited in the gray areas. These are only for workers on foot. But if we don't create rules, everything is possible. But if we create some rules and put some temporary traffic control devices to create the division, it could increase safety a lot. This is a regular temporary internal traffic control plan made in a computer, but we are not asking workers to create it in a computer all the time. Maybe this could be enough. So it's a drawing that the foreman can create, showing here this is we have some dump trucks delivering materials, and these areas with the shadow or chevrons areas are for workers on foot, and workers on foot are prohibited to walk in the traffic areas, except of the spotter, for example. There could be some exceptions, but regular workers are prohibited to walk in the traffic areas. That's the basic idea of an internal traffic control plan, how to separate workers on foot from heavy equipment by creating special areas only for workers on foot or only for traffic. This is another incident. I'm going to finish with this, I think. You know, in this case, we have a spotter, and he went to ask everybody to back up, okay, to allow enough space for the turnaround operation. He went to talk to the last truck. He went to another blind spot behind the vehicle, and he suffered the incident. Okay, you can realize here there are several wrong situations, especially being in a blind spot. He was in the right side of the vehicles. He went to another blind spot behind the vehicle. He was not aware about these situations. Instead of being safe in the left side of every vehicle, he decided to walk and provide instruction from the right side, and we have this incident. Of course, there are other ways to prevent this incident, but yes, we are using it to demonstrate this point about blind spots, spotting, training, and all these things we were talking about. There is another big hazard here. This is an access zone, a real access zone. We were visiting this work zone, and we realized that this was the access zone. And the access zone, we can find here vehicles, parking vehicles, workers, heavy equipment, and they are actually waiting to have dump trucks to deliver materials and arrive to the work zone using this access zone. If you need to work or do all these activities in this area, you have to close this area, this access zone, and create another one, because an access zone should be completely clear. If not, the operator can have an accident, and workers on foot can be victims of this accident. We need to train our operators where to park and stage our vehicles also. We were talking about this person. The person providing the ticket is a good person to communicate any change in the internal traffic control plan and reinforce any rules about avoiding workers on foot areas, or keep the safe speed limit in the area. Workers on foot and operators should be aware about track queue areas. These are areas full of blind spots, and sometimes they are not aware about the risks. Can technology help? Yes, technology is helping a lot. We have new technologies that are preventing runovers and backovers. Sometimes using a camera can help. Some alarms, backup alarms with different sounds, not only the beep, beep, beep that we know, but we have some white noises now that are very focused on the area in which the vehicle is backing up. We have brakes that works automatically when the sensor or radar detects some movement. The vehicle stops by itself. The operator doesn't need to do anything, and so on. So we are going to finish this presentation with a video about technology. It's an investment, okay? We are using in the OSHA safety hierarchy, we are using a substitution method. Maybe we can buy new equipment or additional technologies that can help us to prevent accidents, but it's an investment that is going to pay a lot in preventing accidents.
A number of technologies are now being used to reduce the hazards caused by blind spots by enabling operators to see areas not viewable through mirrors and windows. These technologies include video cameras, sonar-activated warning systems, radar-activated warning systems, and tag warning systems. To most effectively use these technologies, they should be used in combination. For example, in a recent NIOSH study, researchers found that a radar system, which sends an audible alarm to the operator when something is detected in a blind spot, was most useful to look at their video monitor when the alarm sounded. In other words, an operator may not look at the video monitor when backing, unless he or she is prompted by an alarm to do so. Tag systems are relatively new to our industry, but the concept is very good. Instead of just making the operator aware of workers and objects in blind spots, tag systems are warned by workers on foot. If a vehicle is too close, both the worker and the operator are warned by the tag device. While not improving visibility, backing alarms can help provide warnings on noisy roadway construction sites. Often, backup alarms sound so frequently that many workers become indifferent to them. New alarm sounds are being used to cut through the other construction traffic noises and create sounds that will alert workers on foot to the dangers of construction vehicles. While cameras and alarm systems are now used widely in many industries, the technologies are only recently being designed for roadway construction sites. For example, cameras work well during warmer months, and daily cleaning of the lens is usually sufficient. In other environments, however, snow, dirt, oil, and grime build up on the lens quickly, such as during winter months. Some method of preventing snow, ice, and grime from covering the camera must be employed. There's a growing number of safety options to keep workers on foot from being struck by construction equipment. Take a few minutes to research your options. Get up to speed on the technologies available to you. Undoubtedly, as we improve communication, thousands of roadway workers will be protected from being struck by construction vehicle equipment. Follow the links from the National Work Zone Safety Information Clearinghouse at www.workzonesafety.org.
Okay, I want to finish this module and our training today, recommending you to visit this webpage, workzonesafety.org. ARBA is part of the consortium managing this webpage, and this is the biggest library in the world about roadway construction safety and traffic management. We have a lot of videos, training, webinars, seminars recorded there, and you can visit all these resources. Okay, Paula, we are ready for questions, and we can continue tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Okay, no questions, and that is correct. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. I said the incorrect date this at the beginning of the presentation, but tomorrow 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will begin again. And if you do have any questions, go ahead and type those in. But right now, I don't see any questions in the questions box.
Okay, do you have the polls, the short question?
I do.
Okay, maybe you can do that.
All right, I'll do that now. Approximately how many people die each year in traffic accidents in highway construction work zones in the U.S.? Please select one. If you need to vote, go ahead and click the exit button to exit full screen in order to be able to vote on your screen.
Yes, and these questions are just questions to show that you are here. They are not qualified, or there is not a fail or pass test about it. It's just to discuss a little more about safety and show that you were here.
And just a little more information, immediately following today's presentation, you will receive an email with a survey. Please complete that survey. We have about 64% who voted. Hold it open for another few seconds. We're at 74%. Just a few more seconds here and then we'll close it, Robinson.
Do you have the answers?
Yep. So 6% said 45,000. 9% said 140. 31% said 850. 28% said 4,500, and 25% said 12,500.
And the right answer is 850. We're talking about all the people dying in the war zones, including motorists, including pedestrians, including workers, all the people dying in war zones. So because of accidents happening in the war zone or near the war zone, okay? Only workers dying in the war zone, only workers, we are talking about 140 workers every year, only workers. But if we include pedestrians, civilians, operators and motorists, we are talking about 850. 45,000 are in average all the people that die in traffic accidents in the US. Then 4,500, it is all the construction workers who die every year in the US. So yeah, some of this information, I think. Okay, if we don't have any other question, we can continue tomorrow at 10 a.m. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, guys, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.